them when they are 80 years old, naked. If it's sexual desire. That's it. You know, but no, the desire doesn't want to do it. You see, these negative minds, it's like they don't want this because they know it's an antidote. So they fight and they go like, no, you know, and again, look at the person as it is now. But now she's so beautiful. I will still love her or him even when we're 80 years old. Whoa, there's not so many people who still love each other when they're that old. Yeah? But it looks like that when we are young because the desire creates a picture which is absolutely not true. So, as I'm saying, this is called inappropriate attention, letting the mind with the object. So appropriate attention, appropriate awareness is taking your focus inside. How does it feel? Always the first thing. Body sensation, hot, cold, pushing, pulling, whatever. Then, what story does it tell me? Is that story true? I can't live without this person. Is that true? Yeah. So when you are out of the desire, then you go, it's not true. But as long as you're in the desire, as long as desire is coloring you or what you're seeing, then of course I cannot live without that person. I cannot live, be happy without that person. The same goes for anger and aversion. The mind aversion goes, I cannot be happy when that person is there. And then you start to see, well, who is agitating you? Is it your thoughts or is it the person? The person is just sitting there. They're not doing anything. They're not even arguing. So what are you saying? That they are the cause for your agitated mind. They're not. Yeah, but what happened before? Yeah, but what happened before. It's not happening now. Yeah, so we start, these are the antidotes for the negative emotions. Logic. Yeah? Trying to see the stories that it says. And so if you want to, so the best way to be able to bring these two things together is shamatha, is, how they call it in English? Mental quietude, I think, yeah? Like single-pointed concentration is a very big word, single-pointed concentration, but shamatha means a mind that is open and calm, like a mountain lake, without any ripples. Our mind is constantly rippled, and this is what is reflected in the mind, is not what is there. It's either we exaggerate good qualities or take away the bad qualities, or we exaggerate the negative things and we can take away the good things in the person or in the situation. So that mind has to be trained, because especially these days, this is not something that people learn at school. Slowly, the schools now also teach this kind of meditation, but it's not mainstream curriculum. Mainstream curriculum is learn as much as possible. Learn multitasking. Then multitasking, there's a lot of ripples on the mind. And then you become stressed and nervous and, like you're fragmented, and then you get sick. Of course, then you get sick. So actually, if you want to become a really good meditator, your life has to become very boring. If we want to be peaceful and happy, or mentally well and stable, the more boring your life is, but you see this as an advantage, the easier your practice will become. I can see it. If I go to a country where I don't know anybody because I've never been there, I have so much time to practice. My own practice. Read, study, meditate. If I come to Israel, I meet so many people. It's like I'm out all the time. Of course you can say, oh, this is part of your practice. Well, not really. This is just most of the time pleasant. It's very pleasant to meet people and go with them to the beach or to a nice restaurant and have a cup of coffee. But it doesn't really do much for me. Whereas if I go to New Zealand, where I go very rarely, and I know maybe 3 people, and they're in the center, so I don't need to meet them outside the center. You have so much time. You have so much time to spend with the practice. Yeah. So this is it. So this is what we're trying to do. So how do you create a quiet mind? What we do in the morning. Very, very simple. just, what is my object where I put the mind on? Breath. Okay. Whenever the mind moves away, very gently we'll bring it back. And we bring it back. And we bring it back. And then after a while, maybe after years only, you will feel how this, maybe on the cushion you still don't feel any better, but you will feel that when you go out, that you react in a different way. Yeah? All of a sudden, whether you are in a good mood or in a bad mood, or whether everything's going well or not going well, the world looks different. It doesn't matter so much anymore. You're not so focused on yourself anymore, like just my happiness. Yeah. And also when the pleasures come, like when we have these attacks of the negative emotions, we are able to find a quiet space very, very quickly. If you train while these negative emotions are not there yet. Yeah. This is like people on an airplane. They train, people who work on the airplane, not the passengers. They train for emergency situations. But when the situation is not emergency, because if they start to train when there is emergency, everybody panics. Yeah? So this is it. We need to do these trainings when the right conditions, like here, and every morning when it's still quiet, and yeah, okay. And because when you know about karma, it is our undisciplined mind who is creating the future experiences that we will have, and our habits. It kind of, the habits continue, be they skillful or unskillful. It also goes for positive habits, by the way. I think sometimes we concentrate far too much always on the negative side, and we totally get stuck in there, and we identify with it instead of, before we go to the negative side, go to the positive side. Like when you wash dishes, you're not so interested on the dirt that is on the dish when you wash plates. Are you examining every plate, what kind of dirt is on it? Do you? No, it's not interesting. Why do you wash dishes? Why do you wash them? Let to make them think. Why can you wash them? Or why don't we just leave them in the sink?
Because it stinks.
Because we like clean. Because we know it can be clean. If you don't have to trust that your dish can be clean, if you have a saucepan that is totally burned, like black at the bottom, and you have absolutely no trust that you can clean it, you throw it away. Isn't it? When you know that all you need is vinegar and warm water and time, and to let it stand, you do it, and then it will kind of clean itself almost. Do we have enough trust that we can clean the mind? Do we put the same effort in cleaning the mind as we put the effort in cleaning our dishes? When a little spot is left on the dish, we go back and we clean it. Do we do the same with the mind? When we see, some more spots, I need to go back. Do we do this? Sometimes. But not the same as with the dishes. I mean, it's such a classical example. When we know that the dish can be clean, or the t-shirt or whatever, we keep cleaning it until it's clean, because we trust that it can be clean, because we have seen it clean. Now with our own mind, we have also seen it clean from time to time, but this time to time is very short, yeah? So this is why we have to go there again and again and again and again in the goodness of our mind, to have more interest in having a clean mind. Yeah? Instead of being fascinated by all these objects outside that we're trying to make more beautiful and more nice. So much effort goes into that. Yeah? And when Yaya says about impermanence, you see, if your room here is not so nice, and if it would be your room at home, and you would put the sofa in this corner, and this, at home you would do it because you would make the effort, you would waste your time by moving the furniture around. But here, because it's for 2 days, so because it's impermanent, so you're not doing it, and then all of a sudden you get used to it, and it's okay. Yeah. It's also one thing that Shantideva says in the text. The mind can get used to everything. And whatever the mind is used to, it comes easy. But we don't allow the mind to get used to the thing, to difficult situations. We change the situation. Like air conditioning. Most of our body, I'm heater in Switzerland, so I'm not saying, I'm better than you are. I can tolerate heat much better than Israeli people, not because I don't live here, but because I'm not used to air conditioning. So my body still has this ability to adjust to the heat outside because it does it in Europe. Whereas when it's cold, I suffer. And the room needs to be heated because that ability I have lost because of our central heatings in Europe. Yeah? So we take away, by having these air-conditioned spaces, we take away the ability from the body to be able to react. So if you work outside, I don't know, anybody works outside in the summer? Anybody here? Anybody is like an archaeologist or a farmer? Yeah? So if you talk to these people, what they're trying to do when it's really hot, they go to their workplace, not in an air-conditioned car, because otherwise the shock is too big and they can't bear it. And they go very early in the morning, so that slowly the heat increases, and then it's not so bad when it's up. But if you go only at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning and you come out of your cool car, you can't bear it. So again, it's all relative. Yeah? So that's what I mean. So then, this is what, if you train the mind to get used to something, because there is no other way. See, if there is no choice of doing something, we adjust. Yeah? But if there is no air condition, then it's just hot, and we adjust. But if there is air conditioning, we cannot not switch it on, because it's there, because we have a choice. So like this. Then so the first two verses here is how, that you have to, if you want to train your mind, if you want to be happy, if you want to be free from suffering, you need to practice shamatha, meaning having the ability, a technique to calm your mind, so that then the mind by itself stays in that state. Yeah? And this needs hours and hours and hours and hours of sitting. Not just listening to me how to do this. This needs doing. And not just 5 times a year, but every day. I mean, we have gotten used to clean our teeth. Yeah? No? It's a habit. So nobody makes a big fuss about cleaning teeth anymore. Were you born with that ability? Did your mom never have to remind you that you have to brush your teeth? And because she was persistent, and because she worried about our teeth, not the brushing teeth itself, it has no meaning, but it has a long-term meaning of having healthy teeth. Now, my mother never did that, so I have very bad teeth, and even today sometimes I forget to brush my teeth when I get out of the house. I never learned that habit from small. Yeah? So I'm not blaming my mother. But it's just to see how the more we have interest, the quicker the habit develops. Oh, another good example, your telephones, mobile phones. Do you still need to remind yourself, I should look at my telephone? No. How long did it take you to develop that habit? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Yeah. Why? Because we did it so many times during the day because we saw other people doing it. So we also took it out and, maybe something came in. The habit developed very quickly if you do it repeatedly. Yeah? So the same thing can be done with the open and focused and quiet mind. Shamatha. Calm abiding is called.
Telephone is easier.
Telephone,
it's easier. It's a alter ego. It's a telephone.
The telephone is
if you have the Facebook and WhatsApp and these things.
So you need Facebook and WhatsApp?
I don't need it anymore, but I used to.
Yes.
And you get.
So your problem is already solved. Me also. I had Facebook maybe for 2 or 3 months, And then I was in a place where there was only internet. I had to walk first maybe 10 minutes to get internet. Yeah? And then I would only go like once a day. So I had 50 messages on Facebook, which I didn't know, maybe some are worthwhile reading, some not, and this and that. And so before I came to my normal emails, I had to delete 50 messages, and I didn't know, what is it? No. Then I thought, poof. So I got rid of it. And I know I'm missing out on it. So that's what I mean. But the habits are developed very, very quickly. Like that. Okay. But if the elephant of my mind is firmly bound on all sides by the rope of mindfulness, all fears will cease to exist, and all virtues will come into my hand. Okay, so then we know. So it's like the first verses in this fifth chapter is about not to change the things outside, but to encourage us to change our mind. So I just continue, yeah? If you have questions, then you ask. And also if you have the book, then you have the commentary, so you can, if you are interested in really getting to know what it is, you read the commentary. This is what a printed commentary is for, is to be read, not to be listened to. Okay? Tigers, lions, elephants, bears, snakes, and all forms of enemies. So it's the time of the Buddha. So they have tigers, they have lions, they have elephants, they have bears, they have snakes, and all forms of enemies. Today we have cars, we have crazy people, we have terrorists, we have thieves, we have abusers, we have rapists, we have all kinds of things today. Probably tigers, lions, elephants, bears in this country, not so much. So again, you can change it. You can see how it is relevant for you. Will all be bound by binding my mind alone, and will all be subdued by subduing my mind alone. Now that has a lot to do with emptiness now, you know. When we think, like here he says something really revolutionary, when he says that all our fears and all our suffering actually disappears when we tame the mind. Because people who are used to work in very dangerous situations. So I was once in Paris, and there was a bomb in the airport. Everybody had to go out, and of course, we get very annoyed, and why now, and why me, and I need to take my plane, and all this, instead of being happy that somebody saw that there is a bomb before it exploded. I mean, it's like, why are we getting upset when we know that there is a bomb? Then you're safe. So then these bomb kind of guys came, and they looked so inspiring. They were totally calm, joked with each other, came, walked very mindfully, very slowly, absolutely not nervous, because if you're nervous, if you want to defuse a bomb, I don't think you can do it. And they defused the bomb, and that was it, and then they went back in. But there I saw, they're not afraid of that bomb. Why? Because they know what to do, and they chose also this profession. And they chose courage. The moment you have courage, also your mind becomes much more open and much more spacious. Okay? So this is just for worldly stuff. Now, but here he talks more about stuff where we're not creating negative karma again and again and again and again. We will not meet these circumstances. We will not meet these situations. Yeah? So even when you meet a very dangerous person who wants to attack you, you will remain calm. And your calm mind will tell you what to do. Either start screaming, or walk away, or tell this person a joke. That can diffuse somebody who's really dangerous. When you're totally calm, it's happened to me at one point. I mean, it was teenagers, it wasn't so bad. But kind of said, hey, what's wrong with you guys? I didn't do anything to you. Why are you doing this to me? And they went, but I wasn't angry. I was totally calm. I didn't have time to get angry and frightened also. It just came very spontaneous, just to look at them and say, what are you doing? And, so we can train that with small situations. If it's somebody with a gun who is totally drunk, or, really angry because his wife has just left him, something like that, then I tell you, better run away or hide something. It's again, the calmer your mind is, the more you will know what to do in that situation. I'm not saying that, if you act the way I do, that then you will not get harmed anymore. It could well be that they would still have maybe keep me up or something. I don't know. It's not. But you have a good chance that when you are calm, first of all, that you're not overestimating your strength. Because somebody said, I got attacked in subway in London, and I got so angry and I started fighting with them. And then I ended up in the hospital because I started fighting with them, and they were much stronger than I was. So always facing, being a brave person and facing your enemies, that's not really always appropriate. So number 6, the perfect teacher himself has shown that in this way all fears as well as all boundless miseries originate from the mind. That's very difficult for us to see and to understand, isn't it? Because we don't know about karma. Now this is really, it's the Buddhist view that whatever happens to you, it's the boomerang that you threw that is coming back, be it good or bad. Like ordering things on the internet, and then you forgot that you ordered them, and then when they come, so when it's something that you really want and you think it's great, you go, oh, wow, wonderful, yeah, and it's like a good life, harmonious relationship, no financial problems, kids are okay, and all this, then we go like, oh, wow, wonderful. We forget that our mind has created that situation in past lives, by being ethical, by being virtuous, by being generous with others, by practicing discipline. When something negative comes, then also we don't really remember what we did. So again, if we would have enough clairvoyance to see into past lives and to see that we have created a cause. And so I don't really want to go into karma, but also one thing is a small action which creates a karmic potential, if it stays on the mind for a long time, it can bring a very big action. So it doesn't mean that if something really big happens to you now, be it positive or negative, that also the action that created that seed or that potential was big. It isn't, not necessarily. So you don't need to go when you look at your life now. You don't need to go, if negative things happen to you, you don't need to go into the past constantly. I wonder what I've done. Oh my gosh. And wow. You were a different person. You were under different circumstances. You were even more deluded than you are now if it's negative actions. So no need to know what you did. What is important now is to see the patterns that we have, to see what is happening to us, and then react in a more skillful way. It's my responsibility. Instead of getting angry at the person, as we said this morning, we say, hey, wow, thank you for bringing my negative karma to ripening. And not in a cynical way. Not in a cynical way, yeah? But that's absolutely not the worldly view. Absolutely not. So this is not a kind of tutorial how to lead your worldly life. This is how to not to be reborn under the control of karma and delusion again and again and again and again. This is how to get out of it. Yeah? But because we only see the world, and then whatever we hear, we kind of bring it into the world again. How do I apply that? Yeah? But it's not the worldly view. This is the thing. Actually, I need to go on. If you have a question, write it down, and then we'll look at it this evening. So when it says the perfect teacher himself has shown that in this way all fears as well as all boundless miseries originate from the mind. The perfect teacher, of course, for a Buddhist is the Buddha. For a wouldn't be the perfect teacher for a Jew or for a practicing Jew or a Muslim or a Christian, or it's the perfect teacher for a Buddhist. So the Buddha teaches a lot on karma, and he also teaches that an ordinary mind cannot see how karma works because we don't see that far back. If we would see that far back, we would take responsibility. If I'm really horrible to Yael, who's kind to me, but I kind of keep criticizing her, bully her around, whatever she does is not right and all this, her kind feelings towards me, I'm pretty sure they will change. And all of a sudden she starts to be horrible with me. Now, I can do two things. I can start to blame it on her, because I forgot that I started it, that at the beginning she was quite nice to me, but then because I don't like her, and like this, I take you as an example, okay? So, and I could say, I'm the teacher, how dare she treating me like that, blah, 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 and then I create even more problems, but I can say, oh, I started it. If I would have been kinder to her and not criticizing her the whole time, she would not have turned against me. Yeah? Then maybe things can change. Then, when we start to see nothing happens without this mind of mine, which is not the same mind. The mind changes moment by moment by moment by moment. There is no substance in that mind that we call soul or I that stays the same all the time. We change all the time. The projection that we are the same person is again about you. Yeah? So then when we see that this crazy mind of mine who wants to be happy but constantly creates causes for not being happy, well, hey, let me start to work with that one. Yeah? But I need to trust the perfect teacher that there is the law of cause and effect. Because if I only look at this life, I cannot see that law of cause and effect. I know people who are really rotten and who are really exploiting others, although they already have so much money and so much power. Yeah? And they're quite happy. They're not suffering, they're happy. So I know other people who are really kind and really trying hard not to harm anybody and not to harm the environment and they're very grateful. And they have a very difficult life and are unhappy at the same time. Yeah? So if there's only this one life, then you can forget about the theory of karma. Then it's just really random, whether you're happy or not. What happens to you, it's just coincidence. Just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we need to trust the Buddha's words. And how do we find this trust in the Buddha's words? By seeing the things we can check. When he says, life is not as satisfactory as it could be. We agreed this morning, that's true. When he says, why is there so much chaos and darkness in the world? It's because of greed, because of aggression, because of wrong views, because of fanatism, because of I and them dualistic view. Did we agree on that? Because why do we agree? Because we can see it and we can check it. But then there's other things we can't check. Is there rebirth or not? I don't know, we can't check. Yeah? But when the things we can check, when we see that they're true and we agree on them, then we can think. Also the things that we can't check, that also, okay, I trust. This is the kind of trust that one develops in this perfect teacher. By learning the methods, by applying them, what we can apply, and by seeing that it works. I can calm my mind. I can become a kind of person. Not kind in a forced way, but kind because I want to be kind, and then it becomes a habit, and then you're kind. Kind meaning not to harm, not wanting to harm the other person. Doesn't mean running around and fulfilling everybody's needs, but a kind attitude. Yeah? And also, you see what, I think there's a little verse that comes up. Who intentionally created all the weapons for those in hell? Who created the burning iron ground? From where did all the women in hell ensue? The Mighty One has said that all such things are the workings of an evil mind. Hence, within the three world spheres, there is nothing to fear other than my mind. Now, we underestimate the power of our thoughts and of our mind. Because actions of body